I hope you're having a great day and I hope you're staying safe at home. Well, today I want to talk about stress. We all hear about stress and we've been taught to say that everyone has stress and we accept it and we go on with our lives creating more and more stress, simultaneously creating more and more disease. Today when I'm done with this, you will understand why so many people, or maybe even yourself, is suffering with sickness, suffering with disease, and we keep waiting for external circumstances to heal us and help us recover, when we have to know right now that stress plays a major role in cancer, diabetes, cardiovascular, asthma, bronchitis, whatever disease exists out there. Some of it is highly genetic, but guess what? A lot of diseases that are created by genetic, what has changed the gene expression in your body? Again, in most cases, it is stress, chronic stress. Well, it's easy to talk about these things, but when you understand the science about how stress works in your body, a lot of you are going to be really motivated through fear to make some changes in your lives right now. And if you have people in your families or people that you know who are suffering from cancer, asthma, high blood pressure, and all of these things, you now understand why mainstream medicine alone is not enough. You will now understand why so many people are on allopathic drugs and are just not getting better. I'm not against allopathic drugs. When you need it, you got to take it. But if you think that you can rely on only that to solve the root cause of a disease, which is caused by stress, obviously we're not going to improve, we're not going to progress. Number one, what has grown in our world over the last couple of years along with diseases? It's stress, the amount of stress that we go through. I speak to a lot of people who are in their 70s and their 80s, and they talk to us. You should talk to your elders. You should really see how they manage stress, the worst kind of stress. A lot of our parents went through World War I, World War II, and all of that stuff. And when you really sit down to learn from them, we have so much of knowledge on the internet, but like I always say, knowledge is useless without experience. We think we have more knowledge, but yet our entire generation is struggling with happiness, with disease, with emotional issues and all of that stuff, because we've not learned through experience. And that's why I always tell people, learn from your elders. There is so much that you can learn from them. And of course, there'll be some things that you don't want to learn from them, but take away experience from them. In the olden days, people would lose children in accidents due to diseases or whatever it is, and they just got up and they moved on. They created more kids or they moved on. They didn't have the time to be stressed out. They didn't have the time to go through the amount of incomplete grief that we go through today. They lost, but there was only one thing: to survive, we got to go on living our life. Today we have one small problem in our life, our entire life stops. It completely stops, and we're waiting as victims for someone to come along and fix it, or we're waiting for the next drug or the next scientific article that will solve our problem, which needs to be solved by letting go, acceptance, and moving on. And this is what you learn from the experience of our elders. They didn't have the kind of time that we have today to wallow in grief, to wallow in things that don't happen our way, to complain and whine. There was no space for that. People had to move on with their lives, and that's what made them tough, emotionally, physically, something that we don't have in our generation today. They learned how to manage way more stress than we have. What is some of the stress that we have in our world today? The internet connection's not working, the Wi-Fi is not working, your wife said something to you, your boss said something to you, you didn't get a promotion, you didn't get the job that you want, your lover didn't say the things that you wanted to hear. This is our stress. This is the stress that we can't handle as a generation. These people went to war with the wives or partners or lovers never knowing whether they would ever come back from war, whether they would come back from battle. They didn't have phones to keep in touch as much as we can. We have the ability to keep in touch with our loved ones, and yet we have more problems with our loved ones every single day. So we got to learn from the experience of other people, and sometimes we got to put our head in the game. We got to just get a hold of ourselves and kick all these small little stressors that the media and our own lives have made so big. Okay, so your boyfriend didn't message you back. That's not the end of the world. You don't slip into depression. Your girlfriend didn't say the things that you wanted to hear. You don't slip into depression. You don't lower your self-worth because you've given the complete power to your partner. These are small stressors that we've made huge, and it is robbing away our health and our life. Let's go into the science of stress. Okay, short stress is good for us. A small problem, we increase our cortisol levels, our adrenaline, blood pressure goes up a little bit, cholesterol goes up a little bit, heart rate goes up a little bit, the stress event is over and everything goes back down. Everything resumes homeostasis, normalcy. The problem is with chronic stress. You got up, you're sleep deprived, you couldn't sleep because your partner said something to you. You wake up again thinking about your partner and what they said, wallowing in that. You go to a job that you don't like. You spend most of your time with a boss that you hate or is causing problems for you. This is chronic stress that the human body is not designed for. What happens when we're chronically stressed? We produce cortisol. Cortisol is good. It goes up, does its function, and comes down. But when cortisol stays high, that's the problem. Now understand what happens when cortisol stays high. Many negative functions in the body. Number one, you have a gland called the thymus gland. The function of the thymus gland is the activity of white blood cells, maintaining the activity and the production of T cells. This is your immune system. You have a bacteria, you have a virus, you have a cancerous cell that is behaving abnormally. Your thymus gland will send out a swarm of white blood cells, T cells, and also something called interferons and interleukins. These are chemical messengers that tells your body when to increase inflammation and it tells your body when to decrease it. It controls how long your immune system should stay active, and it also sends a signal to your body to relax your immune system. So this plays a huge role in even autoimmune conditions. You know, autoimmune conditions, multiple sclerosis, vitiligo, lupus, psoriasis, eczema, arthritis, Hashimoto's, Crohn's, all of these are caused because your immune system doesn't know how to relax. So we slap on an immunosuppressant, we slap on a steroid. You got to do what you got to do, but we're not addressing the root causes. Why aren't those chemical messengers able to signal to my body to relax my immune system? And that's how we have autoimmune that keeps on going on and on. So when you have elevated cortisol, it shrinks your thymus gland. If it shrinks your thymus gland, you have inactivity of your white blood cells, your T cells, your interleukins, your interferons, which means you just disabled or put your immune system into hyperactive. Why? One cause, elevated cortisol levels, which is related by your stress, your constant anxiety, your constant fear. And I'm not here to take away from it. It is difficult to unwind. It is difficult to get out of stress, but it doesn't mean we don't do it. If you want to heal yourself, you want to recover, you want to sort these problems out, you got to do what is right. You got to do your pranayama, your meditation, change friends groups if they're stressing you out, change your job if it's stressing you out, all of these things. Because stress is the number one killer, the number one cause of inflammation and low immunity. So let's move on to that. You have something called your natural killer cells. The more stressed you are, the more suppressed your natural killer cells are. And if you want to prevent cancer or you want to put your cancer in remission, you need a lot of these NK cells. You need a lot of your white blood cells. You need your immune system to work for you. Just taking your chemotherapy, your radiation, trying to eat good food, trying to eat superfoods is not going to work for you. You need to boost your immune system along with your chemo, along with your medicines, along with your radiation. And that's why the people who change their lifestyles, who realize that I need to change my stress when I'm sick or if I want to prevent, these are the people who heal. These are the people who recover. Just doing mainstream and just eating nutrition all the time is not enough. It's the tip of the iceberg. If stress is the cause of your sickness, you got to put 100% effort in managing your stress levels. It is so important for you to understand that. Let me give you a simple case study, a real scientific case study that was done on fighter pilots. Okay, fighter pilots go through extreme stress during takeoff, during battle, and so what they did is they did a scientific study on the gut bacteria of fighter pilots. Okay, these fighter pilots have decreased microflora, which is your microbiome. The good bacteria under stress, heavy stress and distress, your good bacteria is literally reduced. What are the symptoms when you have less good bacteria in your gut? You have throat problems, you have colds, you have IBS symptoms, you have diarrhea, you have headaches, and you have flu symptoms. Your gut is your immune system. Stress ruins your gut. Stress ruins your good bacteria, which is why most IBS patients, Most Crohn's patients, most patients who have gut issues will relate to anxiety and will relate to stress. Their conditions will get worse when they're stressed. How does that happen? Because the more stressed you are, the more inflamed your gut is. The more inflamed your gut is, you suppress your good bacteria. So you can go on popping probiotics and feel a little bit better. But if you don't address the root cause, which is your stress, you will continue to have inflammation in your gut, along with every single ailment that is connected with your gut, also your immune system, because 75 to 80% of your immune system is dependent on your gut. Look at patients of depression. You will find most of them have poor gut health because the good bacteria is required for brain health. It is required, and if you have poor gut health, you could easily label yourself as depressed because of your serotonin levels. Everything that is controlled by your gut isn't working the right way. So then you jump onto medication to improve serotonin, where all you needed was to support your gut health by managing your stress levels. In young girls and women as well, every time you have an yeast infection, it is mainly caused because your stress levels are increasing. So you have vaginal discharges, you have yeast, you have candida, and all of these problems. You can pop all the pills in the world, but if you do not address your stress levels, you will continue to have these problems over and over again. So it's as simple as that. People are waiting for science to tell them that stress is the #1 cause of most diseases. I'm telling you right now, a cancer patient who is highly stressed, or a heart patient or a diabetic patient, you cannot recover unless you address your chronic stress, because all the pills in the world and all the food in the world cannot change the destruction that excess cortisol is doing to your body. Excess cortisol is doing to your hormones, your thymus gland, your immune system, and everything else. So when you understand this, you now need to change your lifestyle and understand that, okay, stress is real in my life, but I have to do something about it, because the human body is not designed for the amount of stress that we go through every single day. So I'm sorry, but it is your responsibility and it is your accountability to manage your stress. Whether it's getting out of a toxic relationship, acceptance, letting go, changing your job, everyone will have 10 excuses. But at the end of the day, your problem is real, and the truth is also real, that you have a choice and you're just not making it. Now, if you don't make the choice that is right for you, guess what? You have to suffer the consequences of not making the right choice. A lot of people may stay stuck in a victim mode. And I understand a lot of people cannot get out of their stressful situations. They cannot. There are people who are stuck in toxic relationships, stuck in toxic jobs, and they truly cannot do anything about it. Then you still have a choice. You got to learn to accept it. You can't be a victim. You can't fight the system. You can't keep fighting, and you cannot keep resisting, and you cannot keep being a victim. If you don't have a choice, you have to accept or you have to let go. That is your responsibility. You can't make it anyone else's responsibility. The responsibility to choose between acceptance, letting go, or change is yours and only yours. Whining, complaining, assuming a victim mode will never solve your problem, and it'll keep you in a vicious cycle of stress. So now the simplest science, which is proven its connection with immunity and inflammation, is in your hands. It's in your head. Now what you choose to do with it is your choice. You know, I see so many patients out there who have gone through so much of stress and they go on taking more and more chemo, and me, the doctors, we all know, unless the patient changes their perception of stress or how it's affecting them, nothing's gonna work. So the bitter, ugly truth at the end of the day is, for human health to work, for prevention to work, for recovery to work, yes, nutrition is important. Yes, medicine is important. Your activity and movement is important. So is your sleep, and so is your emotional wellness. So it's about high time we start looking at our emotional wellness and making the choices that are good for us. We get nothing by complaining, whining, or assuming a victim mode. What has happened to you has happened to you. You cannot change that. You have to move forward. That's the only thing you can do. I'm not here to take away from your pain. I'm not here to take away from the sadness that you're addicted to, and none of that. It is difficult. But I'm here to give you the bitter, ugly truth that You gotta be the change. You gotta make it, because no one can do it for you but you. If you're waiting for the whole world to change, you're waiting for your partner to change, you're waiting for your boss to change, and they're not, they don't have to. You gotta change. So the sooner you realize the impact of stress on your immune system, on health, on all of that stuff. Everyone's worried about the virus. Everyone knows that a strong immune system is your best bet. But yet people go on being stressed and stressed and stressed and popping organic pills all the time. Your organic pills are not going to help you, because stress is the #1 immune dampener. And unless you control your cortisol levels through your lifestyle, it doesn't matter how healthy you're eating, it doesn't matter how many drugs you're taking. Stress is the mechanism that works for us, and it also destroys us. Have a great day, everyone. Until next time, eat smart, move more, sleep right, and breathe deep.